Hey, Los Angeles. What is up, Ramley? Welcome back to the Ram Skinny here on the LAFB network, your home for Los Angeles sports. Got a special guest on with us today to help us preview this Rams-Raiders must-win game for the Rams off the bye against we'll just call them a not very good Raiders team. So this is a game the Rams have to have, and excited to help us break it all down. We're welcoming back Max Chadwick, co-host of the PFF College Football Show over at the great Pro Football Focus. Gotta let you all know, PFF has got you covered all season long with the best data, tools, and analysis in the game. Sign up for PFF Plus today to unlock all of their famous player grades and premium stats. Push to the playoffs in your fantasy league. Ryan, how are you doing in fantasy? Have you given up already?
I have no idea. I haven't even opened. I don't even know the password to open up my app.
Oh, jeez. You're a disaster. I think we played like 2 weeks ago. But anyway, with in-season tools and award-winning rankings from fantasy expert Nathan Janke. I don't know if I said that right. Maybe you know, Matt?
Yankee.
Okay, I was way off.
I like that.
I appreciate you actually, of all the people who have done an ad read so far, that ad read, you're the only one who's actually asked if he got it right. Everyone else also says Janky. I just let it go anyway, but it is Yankee, actually. So I don't blame you. I literally everyone who's ever done the ad read said the same thing. So don't worry about it.
There you go. Well, Nathan Yankee. Now we will know going forward. So the fantasy expert for PFF, Nathan Yankee. Stay connected to the next generation of talent with the best NFL draft coverage on the planet. We can attest to that. PFF always does a phenomenal job with draft coverage. And no matter what you're looking for, PFF Plus has what you need to make award-winning decisions all season long. Sign up today for PFF Plus for less than $10 per month. So, Max, thank you for joining us again. Long intro. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on again, and it's always fun to talk Rams with you guys. And I'm excited to talk to you guys again.
Well, we would love to first discuss, because we did it off air. I got to say, whenever I bring something up off air, everyone should know that it's going to get brought up on air. Jay Cutler's brother is joining us, actually. Max Cutler with us. You've never heard that before. No one's ever said that.
I told you guys off air too. Like I've gotten Joe Burrow a lot, which is extremely kind. I got it from complete strangers have told me that as well. And I actually worked at the bar a couple times still. I'll let you guys know that. But in Cincinnati, especially where I am. But yeah, Jay Cutler, I've never gotten before. Honestly, I have a theory that there's almost all quarterbacks are good looking, honestly. And I think it's like a shortstop thing in baseball too, where it's like the good looking kid is always the one that you look to as a leader. And then the leader is obviously the quarterback. So I think it's like a correlation there. So anytime I can compare to a quarterback, I'm very happy. As long as I'm not getting compared to like offensive linemen, then I think I'm doing something right, honestly.
Well, there you go. So you're the lead host of the PFF College Football Show. So because, they're looking to you, the lead. I always got I get that guy he does the Hot Ones interviews.
Oh, yeah, Sean Evans, good looking dude too. Evans. Yeah, there you go.
I'll take that all day. And then I've gotten once before Edward Norton from American History X, which
there we go.
Great movie. I don't agree with the movie principles, but I'll take the look, I guess. Skinny T gets not for look, but for sound, Seth Rogen, right? That's who you get.
Yeah,
great guy. I love it. That's good. I love Seth Rogen, dude. Honestly, they're all great comparisons right now. I'm a big fan of all of these. So
yeah. Have you gotten a look yet, Skinny T? I don't know if I've ever.
People have said Robert Downey Jr. a couple of times, which
there you go.
I guess I don't know.
I don't see
that. And then yeah, I don't either.
I mean, it's a good one.
I've gotten Jason Sudeikis a couple of times.
Okay, yeah. I like that one.
I love how the really good looking actor Robert Downey Jr. You're like, I don't see that one. Jason Sudeikis also is a good looking dude. You're like, oh, okay, that's I see that one much more. That was good.
That sounds bad coming from. I just mean I don't see. I don't think you look like Downey Jr. But I can see Sudeikis, who I love. I mean,
I love both. Great. They're both outstanding. Yeah.
Anytime you can get a Ted Lasso comparison, I think you're winning. So Anyway, we'll jump into this. So. Rams, Raiders. First, let me just ask you kind of a general question, Max, and I'll toss it over to Skinny. But, are you surprised the Rams sitting at 1-4? I know we had you on in the preseason show, and I think, if I remember correctly, you had them just missing the playoffs or just squeaking in. I think you had them at 9-8 or 10-7, right around there, which I think we were kind of on the same page there. Obviously, injuries are the big storyline with this team. But I think there's been some self-inflicted wound that we've talked a lot throughout the season of games that they could have still won even with these injuries. So just what's your summation of the Rams season kind of thus far?
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll say is the injuries have killed them. I think more so than almost any other team in the league, they've suffered just devastating injuries, right? I mean, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, easily your top two receivers, easily one of the best receiver duos that we have in college football. Both of them are out for extended period of time. We'll see when either of them get back, honestly. So when you have that, I mean, your receiving core is already behind the eight ball. Then when you lose your top two guys who are pretty clearly your top two guys too, like two stud receivers that you just don't have right now. And then the offensive line is just not playing well. The defense is really not playing well either. You're starting to see like the missing Aaron Donald is obviously a huge thing. As one of the greatest defensive players who's ever played the sport. There's a lot of issues on that defense right now, not just in the front seven. I think the secondary also has a lot of issues. And then obviously you lose your top two receivers on offense. The offensive line's not blocking all that well right now. They have easily the worst pass blocking grade in the league actually as a team so far this year. There's a lot going wrong in LA. I still think they could turn this around once Nacua and Kupp get back from their injuries. And I still think that they can maybe push for a wild card spot, but right now they are kind of behind the eight ball in terms of we're 1/3 of the way through the year, and the Rams are one of the worst teams in the league record wise. Now all of a sudden you're talking about, okay, when they do get healthy, you got to rattle off wins, right? You can't be like an average team, because if you're an average team the rest of the year, you're not making the playoffs because of how bad you've been so far this year. So they've really got to start rattling off victories in order to make the postseason eventually.
Yeah, go ahead, 100%. And this is a perfect game to start rattling off wins. After this, it goes back to getting pretty hard again when you got Minnesota coming up that week, and then we kind of a mixed bag with Seattle. But what have you seen from this Raiders team that has impressed you? This is not an impressive team, but they have some interesting players. They got Brock Bowers, they got Max Crosby. So they're not without their studs. But do you see anything from this Raiders team that should be making us nervous?
I think Max Crosby obviously is an absolute superstar. He's one of the best defensive players that we have in the NFL, and him alone honestly makes that a dangerous matchup for LA, because, like I said, the pass blocking has been the worst in the league so far this year. And that's saying a lot when you have teams like New England, who's also really struggling in pass blocking, and Cleveland too. But LA has been the worst pass blocking grade in the league. And the Las Vegas Raiders have pretty much an average pass rushing unit overall. But Max Crosby obviously is not average at all, right? He is a truly elite pass rusher. You got Christian Wilkins as well in the interior, who's a really good pass rusher too. So yeah, I think that's something to keep an eye on it for sure. But other than that, I mean, Vegas has a lot of issues, right? I mean, they don't really have too much on this team to really write home about and really be impressed by. Like, all their best parts of their team are kind of average overall. They just lost Devontae Adams, their top receiver, who they traded away to the Jets. So it's not like they have a superstar receiver that the Rams have to really worry about as well. So yeah, overall it's okay. They have a good pass blocking team, so maybe the Rams pass rush won't be that great, but they have obviously a bad quarterback situation right now. Not much of the receiving core to be scared of because Devontae Adams is gone. The offensive line is okay, and the defense has a lot of holes on it as well. So yeah, Vegas by all accounts is one of the worst teams in the NFL, and this is a good time to get right for the Rams.
Yeah, much needed time. And coming off a bye, you hope the Rams come out and play a brand of football that we've become accustomed to in LA. But when you look at the weakness of this Rams defense, and overall it's been not a very good defense. We knew there was going to be growing pains. Brand new defensive coordinator and Chris Shula, first time calling plays. You also lose Jimmy Lake, who was the assistant last year, and he's over in Atlanta as well. And then obviously all the player loss, and you mentioned Aaron Donald, but shuffling on the back end and young youth on the front seven, and then trading away their best defensive player in Ernest Jones, which we still are scratching our heads over. When you look at, though, the real weakness, I think, is this rush defense. They've had a real problem stopping the run at times this season. What have you seen from the Raiders, I guess, run game with Zamir White, Amir Abdullah? I mean, obviously they don't have that true 3-down back like they used to have with Josh Jacobs. They've done some good stuff this season. We saw against the Broncos 2 weeks ago, Abdullah busted a couple busted plays for some nice runs. Do you see this as a strength versus weakness, or is it really not anything the Rams need to worry about because it's not a very consistent running game?
I think it's the latter. I think it's really, you look at it right now. I mean, the Las Vegas Raiders have the worst rushing grade in the NFL by more than 10 points, points, which is insane. Like, just for reference, the second worst is the Chargers and the third worst is the Cowboys. The difference between the Cowboys and Chargers is like 3 points. The difference between Vegas and everyone else is 10 points. So, yeah, Zamir White has his moments, and Amir Abdullah somehow is still in the NFL. I was shocked to learn that like a few weeks ago that he's still playing in the NFL. but he has his moments as well. But it is easily one of the worst rushing units. And the problem is sometimes, okay, your rushing grade can be bad, but if you have a good offensive line that blocks well for you, it doesn't really matter because they can create holes for you. But the problem is that Vegas also has the worst run blocking grade in the NFL so far this year too. So yeah, it's a bad combination of having the worst rushing grade, the worst run blocking grade. The offensive line is not creating holes for the running backs, and the running backs are not creating after contact or breaking tackles on their own either. So it's a bad combination right now. And yeah, their passing game is taking a hit now with Devontae Adams gone. It's really hard to look at that Las Vegas Raiders offense and find anything to hang your hat on right now with Devontae Adams gone, because like I said, you lose your top receiver. You already have probably the worst rushing attack in the NFL. You already have one of the worst quarterback situations in the NFL as well. Your offensive line is okay overall because the pass blocking is decent, but the run blocking is really bad. It's a lot going wrong for Vegas defensively, and then offensively, I should say. And then on the other side too, I think the Rams run D, it has been up and down, but they're 15th in run defense grade this year, which is not terrible. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity here for the Rams run D to kind of shine against what's been probably the worst run game in the NFL this year.
So I noticed one thing that I think the Raiders can exploit here, and you've already mentioned it. Ernest Jones out there, our favorite hobby horses here to beat up on our Christian Roseboom and Troy Reeder. Not great linebackers by any means, and this Rams team has struggled against some slot receivers. So Juan Jennings put up a huge day in the slot against them. You know, they came out with the win against the 49ers, but Brock Bowers is the slot receiver for this team, having a hell of a year as a tight end. I think he's on pace to hit 1,000 as a rookie. So that's pretty incredible. So this could be the one area that they could exploit going after Roseboom and Reeder in the slot instead of having one of the cornerbacks there.
Absolutely. That's a great point by you. And then I should have mentioned that when I said, there's nothing to hang your hat on. What you do have to hang your hat on is Brock Bowers is already one of the elite tight ends in the NFL so far this year. Like, he has been outstanding. In my opinion, he's the greatest tight end in college football history, winning 2 John Mackey Awards, 3-time All-American in his 3 years at Georgia, which is just unheard of. And then he comes to the NFL. I thought he was one of the greatest tight end prospects in NFL draft history. And now he's already maybe the best tight end in the NFL. He's at least one of them. I mean, right now his overall grade in PFF is 5 points higher than any other tight end in the NFL right now. So he's already an elite tight end so far. And yeah, I'm not surprised by it considering how amazing he was at Georgia. And like I said, he was historically good at Georgia. But it's cool to see that he is already hitting ground running in the NFL. And he's already, grade-wise at least, the number 1 tight end in the NFL this year.
Let me ask you both this. Max, I'll ask you first, and then Skinny, you can just comment. Like, obviously, it's a mismatch on any linebacker to cover Brock Bowers, and it's an extra mismatch with these Rams linebackers, Skinny, as you mentioned. Like, if you're Chris Shula in this defense, Max, like, are you putting a safety on Bowers? Are you moving a corner over? Like, there's no way you can have Roseboom in coverage, even though we've seen that throughout this season. But I mean, just you put your defensive coordinator hat on, and do you move someone else to cover him? Because I mean, like you said, that's the Raiders offense. So if they can slow him down, I mean, this should be a open shut game for the Rams.
Definitely. I think what they do is John Johnson. John Johnson has been, like I said, the Rams coverage unit has been one of the worst in the NFL this year. I think they're the second worst coverage grade. Ironically, the only one who's worse is the Las Vegas Raiders so far this year. So the coverage unit has not been good overall. But one guy who's been really good in coverage is John Johnson. He has an 88.5 coverage grade this year. And even Jalen McCullough, when he's played, 81.6 coverage grade. So 2 safeties for the Rams have the only 2 grades above a 65 in coverage, and they're both above an 80, right? So I think both of those guys, I'm not going to say you're going to shut down Brock Bowers because he is that good, but I think both of those guys are capable of playing as Brock Bowers. So I think having one of those 2, John Johnson or Jalen McCullough, play a good amount against Brock Bowers, that would make a lot of sense. I know they've both been banged up this year, and we'll see if they how they'll do. But yeah, I think that if they are healthy, that's probably what I would do against Brock Bowers.
What do you think, Skinny?
Yeah, I like Quentin Lake a lot as well. Last game they did a bunch of reshuffling in the secondary because of a lot of injuries, and just trying to figure out what works. So and it wasn't even an injury; it was Tre'Davious White. Now that I'm remembering, they moved. He was a healthy scratch last week. Moved Quentin Lake back to safety away from his role as the slot corner. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do there. I mean, Quentin's kind of my answer for that, but Yeah, I mean, it'll be a rough day, whoever it is. But if you only have to stop one thing, stop the one thing. Put a lot of energy into that. And we saw a bad rushing team run up the rushing total not that long ago. The Chicago Bears put up a heck of a day. So I don't trust the Rams defense to do a lot in terms of stopping the run. So I mean, it's this is a game that they should win. This is a should win game. That's not necessarily a question, but I think we're all on the same page in terms of that. But let's hop over to the defensive side. And is there anything else other than just a out of the world Max Crosby game? He's on the injury report this week with an ankle injury. Missed maybe his first game of his career. I don't know if that's true. I might be pulling that out of my ear, but anything you're seeing, Ryan, on defense
for the Raiders?
For the Raiders, yeah.
I mean, for me, I haven't seen a whole lot in terms of secondary and whatnot. Max, I don't know if you've seen like any coverage grades or whatever where they rank and whatnot, but the Rams offense, this feels like, we said it for the whole team, but this feels like a get right game for the offense too, because this offense, Max, we've talked about all season, like this was supposed to be the strength of this team. When you spend 160 million plus on one side of the ball and it's the offense, it should be a top fleeting offense. And I believe they're bottom 15 in terms of yards per game. And obviously injuries play a huge role in that. And you alluded to the greatness of Kupp and Puka Nacua, but there's got to be other ways they can get other guys involved. Against the Raiders, they should be able to, but what are you seeing kind of in the Raiders in terms of coverage and run grades?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was looking it up. I forgot that John Johnson's like sidelined for an extended period of time. So hopefully, I don't know if he will be back this week, but if he is out, that's a big loss for covering Brock Bowers. But yeah, looking at just Vegas coverage wise, I mean, they've really struggled this year. Like I said, the Rams are the second worst coverage grade in the NFL. The only team who's worse is the Raiders this year. So really, it's just they have nothing at corner right now to be really worried about. I think that just Corey Bennett has not played well this year. Nate Hobbs has not played well this year. Jack Jones has not played well this year. I mean, they're really struggling to cover anyone right now. Now, obviously, against the Rams that have lost their top two receivers, that's a little bit better matchup for the Raiders, but also you got Sean McVay drawing up plays, and he does it better than almost anyone in the NFL, right? So, and Matthew Stafford's still a really solid quarterback as well. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup there, but there is an opportunity there for the for the Rams to take advantage of what's a very, very vulnerable Las Vegas Raiders secondary.
One question I have, and this is more just hypothetical, just your thoughts. And I think we talked about it when we had you the first time because it was after the draft. And obviously you cover college football, and the Rams drafted, Blake Corum in the third round. And Kyren Williams has been fantastic this year. He's definitely been the bright spot of the offense with all the missing pieces, and they fed him the ball, which we are thrilled about because we've been saying all along, like, this guy needs to get 20 plus touches, whether that's through the run game or in the air. But it has been perplexing to us of how little usage Blake Corum has gotten. I mean, he got garbage time in the Arizona blowout and then finally got some regular touches, their last game. And so does it surprise you how slowly they've worked him in the offense? Like, we've maybe surmised it to maybe he's just not picking up pass pro well enough. They don't trust him in the pass blocking game or whatnot. But has it surprised you that someone of the caliber of Blake Corum, how high they were when they drafted in the third round, has really not been working the offense at all?
Yeah, it's weird because he's only played in 2 games this year and he's only played 19 total snaps this year as well, right? And he played, obviously, 11 snaps in week 5 and 8 snaps in week 2. Like, he's just barely even getting on the field right now, which is weird considering he was a third-round pick and how high everyone was on him coming out of Michigan. And we thought that, Kyren Williams is obviously still a lead guy, but we thought Blake Corum would be like the maybe 1A, 1B to Kyren Williams, and it's not been that at all, right? It's been clearly Kyren Williams' backfield with Blake Corum barely playing at all. So, yeah, maybe it is taking a little bit of time for him to get adjusted to the NFL. But I thought he's an NFL running back coming out of Michigan. So I was kind of surprised by all this, right? And I think he's looked decent when he's out there, but then again, it's on less than 20 snaps this year, so it's really hard to glean too much off those snaps. It is very interesting, and it's weird that a guy who's one of the top running backs in the draft, and for some people, the best running back in the NFL draft, it's weird that he's barely played at all. 6 or 7 weeks into the NFL season so far.
Yeah, it's very strange. And on the other side of the ball, two rookies that are kind of getting people really excited. You got Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. They're leading the way in terms of pressures. PFF has them at 20 and 15, which I think is 1-2 for rookies.
Even with the bye, still 1-2, I think. Yeah.
Oh wow, is that right? That's incredible. But there's a disparity between their pressure numbers and their sack numbers. What are your thoughts on this duo and those as individual guys?
Yeah, Fisk has been solid. I think Fisk has definitely been a solid player. I'm not saying he's been bad or anything like that. But he's been solid. Verts I've been blown away by. Verts has been really, really good this year. I think Jared Verts has been one of the best defensive rookies that we've had. I mean, he's probably one of the top candidates for defensive rookie of the year as of right now. He's been really good as a run defender, really good as a pass rusher. I mean, he's just been, taking what we saw from him at Florida State and it's just been excellent in the NFL as well. So really cool to see Jared Verse just come in and hit the ground running immediately in Los Angeles. So yeah, while Blake Corum hasn't really done too much as a rookie, they can hang their hat on their first round pick, Jared Verse, being outstanding. And yeah, he's been a really, really impressive rookie so far this year.
Yeah, I think they're really excited about those guys, and obviously with how young the defense is, like they had to show out for them to have any semblance of an identity, which we haven't seen a ton of, but at least those two, along with Byron Young, I think have looked good. And then if they can get the linebacking core and the secondary figured out kind of down the stretch, they can maybe really make a run on this thing. So last thing from me, and then maybe we can get a score prediction from you, but there's been a lot of rumor talk, and when you're a 1-4 football team and the trade deadline's less than a month away, this chatter starts to come out. And obviously Cooper Kupp with his still eliteness when healthy, but his injury history. Matthew Stafford, 2 years left on his deal. What's your thoughts on these rumors that maybe the Rams do deal Stafford and Kupp at the deadline? Like, I'll just tell you ahead of time, we both think it would take basically an implosion of them losing their next 3 games and being mathematically out for that to even be a conversation. But just what do you think on that? And do you think it's feasible? Is it smart? Is it silly? Just your whole thoughts on the rumor mill.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't think that's going to happen. I've heard a lot of Giants talk with Matthew Stafford. I think that's kind of a desperation play, if anything, if the Giants are going to do that, because Brian Dable and Joe Shane probably know that their jobs are on the line this season, even though I don't think Brian Dable should be. I think Brian Dable's actually done a really good job as head coach. He just hasn't had the talent to do anything with that team. So maybe that'd be a desperation play. Be like, okay, we got to salvage something here. I don't think the Giants should do that, though. Like, they're not a team that's a Matthew Stafford away from competing, right? They're a team that still needs a lot of help. And I think they should be drafting a quarterback this year and building for the future rather than trading for an aging veteran at quarterback. So it's a little weird. I think they should wait. I think they should wait for Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp to get back healthy, see what they have there. If they are a really good team like we thought they were, or at least a good team like we thought they were going to be with all those guys healthy, then just keep it going. But if they're still not working out, then maybe you start talking about, okay, maybe we look to the future. And listen, Matthew Stafford's older, right? He's one of the oldest quarterbacks that we have in the NFL right now. I even think as early as this year, there could be conversations about, do the Rams take a quarterback with their first round pick and develop him behind Matthew Stafford for 1 or 2 years before allowing him to take over the reins as a starting quarterback, right? That could be a conversation that we have as early as this year, because I think Sean McVay should be looking for the next quarterback of his team after this. And who knows? I mean, Sean McVay has been rumored to be looking at retirement as well in many years before. I don't know how close he is still to doing that, but maybe when Stafford's done, he's also done, right? That might be a thing as well. But yeah, I think there's definitely a conversation there because of how bad they've been and how old some of their players are. But at the same time, like, I don't think they'll be willing to do that. I'd be surprised if Sean McVay, who by all accounts loves Matthew Stafford, will be willing to do that either. So I think that they probably won't do it, but it's at least a conversation to have as of right now.
So Ryan and I were pounding the table that they should be drafting Spencer Rattler in the 3rd round. That's what we thought they should have used. Do you think they missed out on that quarterback? Do you think he's a good NFL quarterback?
I think he could be good. I don't know if he'll ever be a starter in the NFL. I think, but in it may be a situation like Los Angeles with Sean McVay there, learning behind Matthew Stafford, maybe he could have developed into a starter, because I do think he's got the tools and he's a very, very talented kid. I just think there's some issues there with him that I didn't love him as a projected starter in the NFL. Now, obviously, he is doing that with Derek Carr hurt on the Saints, but Yeah, I think that would have been an interesting pick. I mean, hey, you take him in the third round. I mean, Blake Corum's not playing for you either, right? So it's not like it's a guy that you're playing a lot of right now. So I wouldn't have hated it by any means, but yeah, I don't know if I would have been very comfortable saying Spencer Rattler is my future at quarterback. Maybe he does turn it. Maybe in Los Angeles he would have turned into a starting caliber quarterback, but I was very pessimistic on his odds to be a starter. I think he's more like a career backup, honestly, than anything else.
Yeah, we'll see tonight against the Broncos at Thursday Night Football, right? So, but no, we'll definitely have you back on, probably even before then, but we'll definitely have you back on draft season because we've said many times the Rams right now have no contingency plan for quarterback for the future. So this draft feels like a must draft quarterback. I know there's still fans that believe in Stetson Bennett, but I don't think we've seen anything where he's going to be the future of LA. So regardless if they trade Stafford or not, I mean, 2 good years left, 2 years on his deal. So you got to start planning for that future. But I agree with you. I don't think it happens this year unless, I mean, if they lose to the Raiders and then the Vikings and then Seattle 3 straight and they're sitting at 1-7 right before the deadline's what, November 3rd, then maybe they call one of those teams like the Steelers, or we even said the Vikings, who are amazing right now. But if let's say they go on a game or 2 skid and they can trade Darnold straight up with a 3rd round pick for Stafford, who I think would be an upgrade. I think everyone would agree. That gets all of a sudden interesting. But anyway, that's way down the line. So we'll end with this, unless you got anything else, Skinny.
Well, I did think of a fun trade, Michael Mayer from the Raiders to the Rams. Who says no?
I mean, they got Brock Bowers there. Right? I like Michael Mayer a lot, and I think he might be getting a little lost in the shuffle with how good Brock Bowers has been. So yeah, I wouldn't hate that for Los Angeles at all.
Yeah, it'd be great for Mayer.
I'm kind of getting on the David Njoku train, and I'm on the Michael Mayer train.
Well, yeah, more youth and whatnot. But so all right, Max. Well, score predictions are meaningless, but who you got in this one? You taking the Rams over the Raiders in this must win for the Rams?
Yeah, I think I am. I think I really don't like what Vegas has done so far this year. I think the Rams are a better team, and yeah, I think the Rams will get back on track. And then something I wanted to point out to you guys before we go is that so far this year, the Rams have played the 2nd hardest schedule according to our power rankings, and they have the 25th hardest schedule remaining. So there is an opportunity here for Los Angeles to go on a little bit of a run here and get back on track into the playoff race. The season's not over at all for them, and I think that starts this week against the Raiders, who I think is probably one of the 5 worst teams that we have in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would argue. I don't even think Raiders fans would argue with you there. So lot going on in Vegas, and obviously the Adams saga is over, but plenty more. So should be a fun game. Skinny, I'm assuming you're taking the Rams. What? Give me a score. Give me a score.
Well, my prediction is that Tom Brady will come down from the heavens and he's going to actually pull off the victory, as he is now 5% owner of the team, and could he be a quarterback for them? I don't know. Anyway,
play as the owner.
I don't know. Jerry Jones wants to. So I'm gonna say they're gonna cover. They're gonna win big. Their offense is gonna get back on track, and they're gonna score the most points of the season so far. 28 to 15. Big win.
I love it. You always give the random point total 15. Always. So you get like a random one in there. Like, I think you get, yeah. But anyway, I agree. I think the Rams do get on back on track off the bye. Cooper Kupp may play as of today, as of this recording. There's optimism he may play. I'm still kind of thinking they wait a week, considering it still hasn't, as of Thursday, they're not like saying, yeah, he's in, but optimism he may go, which would be a huge boost. But regardless, I just think they're a better coach team. Anytime you have McVay and Stafford together, you always have a shot to win. So I'll go. I think they have a good offensive day as well. I'll go 31-17. Raiders get a late garbage time touchdown to make it look better than it is. But I'll do it. Max Chadwick, co-host of the College Football Show on PFF, brother to Jay Cutler. Speaking of, congrats to your brothers Vanderbilt Commodores for knocking off Alabama a few weeks ago. I know you were probably pumped on that, celebrating with Smoke and Jay over there. So, but brother, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate the time.
Of course, guys. Really appreciate being on again.